The movie began when a young woman receives an invitation from the Pope in Rome, which made her and her sisters really happy. Without wasting time, Cabrini gathered her bags and left for the journey ahead. When she got to Rome, she was confronted by a father who told her that her request to start a network of orphanage in the East was denied. But Cabrini stood her ground in Rome and told the father that she was not leaving until she saw the Pope. Few minutes later, she was invited in by the Pope. While with the Pope, they both talked about the orphanage she was intending to build. Without wasting time, the Pope agreed to her mission, but gave her a condition, which was that she had to start her mission from the Western in America and not from China. She also agreed, and then left and went back to France, in which she lived. Without wasting time, Cabrini and her sisters gathered their bags and then journeyed to America to begin their mission. But when they had arrived to America, it was late and they couldn't find any ride to 5 Point, which was their initial destination. But Cabrini knew no one in America. She decided to ask a lady in which she saw on the street for a place they could stay for the night. This lady, out of a kind heart, took them to a shelter and told them to leave when it is morning, and that the street were not safe late at night. The next morning, Cabrini and her sisters had left the shelter and arrived at 5 Point, where she met the owner of the orphanage, and to her surprise, the orphanage had just been closed because he was unable to raise up funds for its daily running. Weeks passed, and with the help of Cabrini and her sisters, the orphanage was now looking better than before. Days later, Cabrini, who knows only the lady who helped her when she first arrived in America, left to meet Victoria for her help, but her master wouldn't allow Cabrini to meet Victoria. On their way out, the two women met, and the kind-hearted Victoria offered to help Cabrini. Then they both went to the deepest alley in 5 Point, where they found some homeless kids. In appreciation to what Victoria did, Cabrini offered her a place in the orphanage. Days later, Cabrini was seen coming from the market, where she was stopped by two homeless boys who pretended to be thieves. But Cabrini was not scared of these boys, since she knew they did what they did only to get what they could eat. So Cabrini invited them for dinner, and she also gave them a place to stay. Days later, Cabrini and Victoria were seen together with a writer who grew interest in her work with the orphanage in 5 Point. The both of them offered their help, and gave the man an all-round tour around 5 Point. With the money Cabrini got from the man article, she got a better apartment in a more conducive environment. Then Cabrini and the kids moved in. Weeks after, of a peaceful living, and housing departmental agent who came unaware, inspected their house, and at the end of the inspecting tour he told them to leave the house in less than a week, because they had broke some of the United States housing code. Cabrini, with nowhere else to go, went to meet the bishop, who gave her the proposal of a house which was faced with the challenge of no water supply. But Cabrini did not see this as a challenge, since there was a river close to the house, so she bought the place. So then they all moved in immediately. Few days after moving in, Enzo and Paolo noticed the shortage in the ration of food and of their living in the orphanage. Then, they decided to help out in the orphanage by getting a night shift job in a tunnel factory. But their first night shift did not go as planned for them, because there was an explosion in the factory which led to the death of some workers and also the death of Enzo. The remaining workers that are not dead were admitted to an hospital in 5 Point with less facility, and also was at its brim of bankruptcy, which also caused the death of a lot of worker. Days after the accident, Cabrini was offered an opportunity to buy the hospital since its owner had left for Rome, and she was the only one with the ambition of making the world a better place. Then, Cabrini took a step of faith, and she decided to gather a group of non-Americans, rich and influential men, to help her raise funds for the hospital she was intending to build, but they did not consider her ambitious enough, so they rejected her offer. Days passed and she still had nothing for the hospital. Then Cabrini decided to raise money for the orphanage through an Italy musical festival. The day came and all was going well until the police came, rallied the place and arrested Cabrini. She was later granted free with the exact amount the orphanage raised from the festival. And she was also told to return back to her country. Without wasting her time, Cabrini journeyed to Rome. But before doing so, she left one of the sisters in charge of her operation. When she arrived at Rome, she went to meet the Pope to grant her a go-ahead on the hospital she was intending on building. But the Pope told her that if she was able to get the senator to grant her a loan, that he will approve her of her mission. Without wasting much time, she got to talk with the senator, who said no, without even giving her a chance to even explain herself. This made Cabrini even more weaker than usual. Though she had post-tubercular symptoms, but it had never made her feel so weak. After some days she was confronted by Victoria, who encouraged her when she was feeling down and sad. This words encouraged Cabrini, so she went back to the senator, but this time she left an impact that did not give them a choice but to grant her her request. Without wasting much time, Cabrini went to the Pope, who immediately granted her her request. The next day she journeyed back to New York to begin her work immediately. Few days went by and they were still on the building. One night the hospital was burnt down to ashes by some Americans, and this time she had no choice but to meet the mayor to offer him a deal, which was that, if he helped her to rebuild what was lost, she and the people of Five Point would support him in his upcoming election. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep you posted on all our new videos and movies. And also don't forget to check out our old video.